Another life skills lesson. What a perfect name for this class, right? So let's kind of review. Last time we talked about goals and more goals, right? So one of your assignments was to write five personal, occupational, career, I don't care which one, it could be a mixed match of those, but 5 long-term goals. And along with those long-term goals, which need to be specific and measurable, you were to write 2 short-term goals in order to kind of get yourself to those, okay? So very important, not only in that assignment are you to write those 5 goals, you to take one of those goals and basically take that a little further. We're going to do a goal management plan where you talk about your resources, you talk about your barriers, you talk about who's going to support you, okay? So remember that second assignment, there's 2 parts to it, okay? So in order to get full credit, you need to do both parts, all right? But goals are very important. I hope your goals are coming along quite nicely because goals are so important in life. I can't imagine where I'd be without goals. I set goals daily. I set goals for what my day is going to look like. I obviously set long-term goals. They revolve around work, family, personal life, all that good stuff, okay? So goals are so important. You're going to use them so much in life, all right? Now, before we get into stuff, you guys know that you can't get enough motivation. And, you know, even though I'm not, well, I was going to say I'm not cheeseball. Yeah, I am. I'm cheeseball. Most of the time I like to make you laugh, but really also I want this class to inspire you. There's a lot of cool things in this class, from goal setting to exercise and how you're eating, all the way to how you're taking care of your environment. So I want to inspire you a little bit, so hopefully as you're watching this, you're like, gosh, I can do some great things, okay? So watch this video and then we'll come back together. So that is a great kind of review of the last time we were together when we talked about goals, because that video, even though maybe some of you guys are like, oh, it's so cheesy, but really when you read through that, you're like, not only does that kind of affect the choices, you know, I make, how am I going to live my life every day? Am I going to step forward or am I going to just stand still? but also it takes us into decision making, which is what we're going to talk about today. But I hope that that gave you guys some ideas that you guys can make a difference. You guys can do some great things. You don't have to be someone special in any sort of way. You just have to be you, okay? So I want you guys to remember that you guys were uniquely made, and you're made for a purpose. And I'm excited to see what that is in your life, and I'm sure you are too. So let's continue on. So this time we're going to talk about thinking for yourself. Thinking for yourself. So last unit was thinking of yourself, and now we're going to talk about thinking for yourself. You guys are considered adults now. You're not going to have people making decisions for you, for the most part. But really, you are going to be thinking for yourself. You're going to make some vital decisions that could drastically affect your life, okay? For the positive or for the negative. Depends on how you choose. So let's talk a little bit about that. First of all, are you a leader or are you a follower? Ask yourself that question. Neither one is necessarily better than the other, because there's good and bad qualities for both. I shouldn't say bad, but there's leadership qualities that are amazing, but also being a follower. There's nothing wrong with being a follower if you're kind of following in the right sense and you're making choices to follow the right people. Because not everybody's a leader. We can't always be leaders. And again, like I said, if you don't have any followers, then why would you wouldn't even have any leaders to begin with. So it's not a bad thing if you're a follower, if you're choosing to follow the right people and the right paths, okay? And leading people can be a big, huge responsibility. So if you consider yourself a leader, you need to make sure that you're leading people in the correct, positive way. Because sometimes if you're a leader and you're leading people down the wrong way, you're dragging a lot of people down where they don't need to be going, okay? So, I think this is funny, a little picture though. I'd follow this cow anywhere. Well, yeah, you're a stinking fly. So let's talk about practical problems, because we all have them, right? And you know me, I'm super sarcastic, or at least you're getting to know that. That says, no matter how great and destructive your problems may seem now, remember, you're only seeing the tip of them. No, just kidding. Granted, problems can be small or they can be huge, okay? And you need to understand that sometimes your problems are much bigger than you may think, because you don't know the consequences of some of your choices. But some problems, you can take care of in a day. So practical problems can happen on a daily basis. A practical problem is a complex, action-oriented problem that involves thoughts, feelings, emotions, and values, which you guys should know all of your values by now, okay? So practical problems can be complex. They usually involve thoughts, your feelings, emotions, your values, and they can happen every day, okay? Hopefully we try to keep those problems at a minimum, especially as you start getting older. You start to kind of pick and choose what become problems and what do not, okay? Let's talk about making decisions. You're going to be doing another assignment that's basically called Reason Through a Problem. So making decisions, if you remember this acronym, you're going to really start to use that in your life on how you make, whether they're little decisions or big decisions, okay? And I like these pictures, although, you know, it's kind of like, whatever, is it really that cut and dry? If I go this way, I succeed. If I go this way, I fail. But sometimes if you go through this acronym when you're making a decision, it can be that easy, okay? So let's go through and look at each one of those. R stands for recognize, and I love Mr. T. You better recognize. You got to recognize the problem first. If you don't even recognize it, how are you going to make a good decision based on that, okay? So you better recognize, all right? Make sure you understand, you see that there's an actual decision in front of you to make. Then you have to evaluate. Green apple, red apple, green apple, red apple. But this is not the choice making yet, okay? But you're just evaluating kind of how you can make a choice. What would happen maybe if I did this? What would happen if I did this? But you're really just kind of evaluating the situation, and you're evaluating what the possible decisions could be in this problem, or so to say, okay? So you're not necessarily making the decision yet. You're just evaluating the situation. You've already recognized that there's kind of a problem of some sort. Evaluate that situation, and then you're going to go to analyze. Analyze what happens if you do this. If I do this and go down this way, this might happen. If I go this way, this might happen. Pros and cons may be to each way, so you have to weigh that out even more. So analyzing, like good old Beautiful Mind, I love that movie, great movie. But you have to analyze beyond what you're normally used to, okay? Take the 2 minutes it might take to analyze what might happen if you choose this versus you choose this, okay? That's going to really save you from some poor decisions. All right, choices and consequences, because remember, when you analyze, you're trying to figure out, okay, if this choice, if I do this, what could happen here? Well, we got to think of the consequences, right? And I love these because, you know, these pictures here, I always show you random pictures. Come on, the consequences of their choices of cutting their hair this way. Are you kidding me? I mean, come on. They're going to look back 10 years, maybe even actually a year, and they're going to be like, did I really have that haircut? No, this poor kid probably is influenced by his parents. But nonetheless, there are consequences, and we have to remember that. So let's look at some poor choices and the consequences that follow. And hopefully you guys will analyze just a little bit more after this.
The inedible stuff has been sifted out. Bob boils up the slots in this giant cooking pot. Then, load it up, taken off. This is a good old truck.
Oh boy, I tell ya. What's wrong with people and their choices? I like living on the edge, but I'm not going to do anything like stupid. Okay, so watch your choices and watch the consequences because some of the choices will lead to some pretty horrific consequences. Okay, let's move on to S. So obviously, after you analyze, you're going to have to select. You're going to select the choice that you're going to make. Make sure you you don't just kind of, I think I'll do this. You got to select it. You got to go with it, okay? You might go down this path. It might be great. You might go down that path. Maybe not. You remember, anytime you make a choice, and if it's a poor choice, you do learn, hopefully, learn from those poor choices, but you never know until you actually select a choice and do it, okay? So, ethical reasoning. I want to talk about this when you do select a choice. Think about ethical reasoning, okay? You want to be ethical in your selection and in your choices. Now, that may not come into your mind right now, but when selecting the best choice, think about that, okay? Think about your ethics, your values. Now, next is O, outline and implement a plan. So this is really important. A lot of people skip over this step. They select their choice and they go, bam, boom, let's do it. And they don't really think about that plan and how that looks. And sometimes when you don't think about how that action plan might look, you really jump into it too quickly and you kind of turn that situation, what could have been a good situation, into a bad one. So outline it a little bit, know what you're going to do once you select that choice, and implement that plan. And then, last but not least, note the results, okay? That's another thing that people are like, what? Well, I'm going to know the results. But if you don't actually like write them down, you might kind of forget. And I tell you, if any of you guys journal, which is a really good thing, especially in high school and college, you're going through a lot of different things. I always kept a journal, not a diary, not like, dear diary, today Justin really liked me. No. It's about kind of my learning, you know, what kind of experiences did I have? How did I grow from those? So I really ask you guys that if you make a big decision, note the results, whether they're positive or negative results, note them so that you can go back and read through that journal at some point and be like, let's really try and do things differently this time, okay? So remember that, that's an important part. So when you guys go to do your assignment, you're going to be going through each of these. You're going to pick a problem that maybe you have faced. Okay, if you don't want to share that with me, make one up. Okay, you don't have to be this open book with me. But if you want to work through an actual problem of yours, pick a problem that's existing. Okay, and work through these REASON, and you will be amazed at how you work through that problem and come to a great solution. Okay, so you can learn from your results. You can learn from your choices, whether or not they're good or bad. So I really ask that you guys start using that reason method. If you make poor choices, just make sure that you don't make the same choice again. Okay, I know your parents tell you that all the time. I'll just be your third parent, okay? But really, I ask that you guys think about that. Think about your choices. Learn from poor choices. Start to make some better ones by using the reason method, okay? That is it for this lesson. Have a lovely, lovely day.